So, this light in oneself, true meditation, session 3. So, once again, just take a moment before we go on today's journey and relax. Take a breath and connect with the mystery of light in the natural world. How beautiful it really is. How mysterious. And how we're actually quite connected to this light. And the stillness in this light. The beauty of that light, like love, is not to be touched, not to be put into a word. But there it was, in the shade, in the open, in the house, on the window across the way, and in the laughter of children. Without that light, what you see is of so little importance, for the light is everything. His writings about his experiences in the natural world are some of the most beautiful things that I've come upon. He said it was one of those lovely mornings that have never been before. The sun was just coming up, and you saw it between the eucalyptus and the pine. It was over the waters, golden, burnished, such light that exists only between the mountains and the sea. It was such a clear morning, breathless, full of that strange light that one sees not only with one's eyes, but with one's heart. Seeing with the heart. So he says the flowering of love is meditation. Meditation is the movement of love. It isn't the love of the one or of the many. It is like water that anyone can drink out of any jar, whether golden or earthenware. It is inexhaustible. And a peculiar thing takes place which no drug or self-hypnosis can bring about. It is as though the mind enters into itself, beginning at the surface and penetrating ever more deeply until the depth and height have lost their meaning and every form of measurement ceases. In this state, there is complete peace. What comes to mind is the peace that passes all understanding. Or what Thomas Merton said, the ground of love for which there is no explanation. This light, this law, is neither yours nor that of another. There is only light. This is love. Now I realize that we're trying to speak about such a mystery with words, but it's all we have. And I think that some of these words are so beautiful and so clear that it does help. So, Krishnamurti on compassion, or the illumination of the light that is love. So let me begin with a definition, if you will. Compassion is not the word, but this is its origin. It comes from two Latin words, pate, meaning passion, to suffer, and cum, meaning with, to suffer with. Compassion means to suffer with, to understand the other completely, to walk in the shoes of what we view as the other. Now, this is an image, a photograph of an American soldier in Iraq with a wounded child. When I think about the trauma that war produces in a human being, both those who are wounded, the families of those who are killed, but the people also who are executing the war, it's vast. There is a tremendous amount of trauma on top of our conditioning going on here. Even if the conditioning is at the bottom of it all, we add a whole nother layer called trauma. So it's very difficult to unwind. He says, in our search for knowledge, in our acquisitive desires, we are losing love. We are blunting the feeling for beauty, the sensitivity to cruelty. We are becoming more and more specialized and less integrated. Love is not a thing of the mind or the intellect, but it comes into being naturally as compassion when this whole problem of existence, as fear, greed, envy, despair, hope, has been understood and resolved. It always comes back to us and how we are going to, or if we're going to, as a species, start really looking at ourselves and not at the other and not blaming the other. Meditation is that light in the mind which lights the way for action. And without that light, there is no love. Light in the mind, love in action. Unless each one of us has a deep sense of compassion, we shall become more and more brutal, inhuman to each other. We shall have mechanical, computer-like minds which have merely been trained to perform certain functions. We shall go on seeking security, both physical and psychological, and we shall miss the extraordinary depth and beauty, the whole significance of life. So I'm just summing it up with some questions. Can we have compassion for ourselves and others for being fragile, prideful, arrogant, jealous, lonely, lost, conflicted, uncertain, needing? Let's start there with ourselves. Can we look deep into our conditioned mind to see the repeating patterns that cause unhappiness, conflict, so that we can break free of its restraints. We don't have to be a puppet on a string to our talking mind. Can we look at the root cause of what robs us of joy? If we can, then self-understanding can blossom. Compassion can flow naturally. So this is my statement. Self-understanding is the foundation of compassion. He says, compassion is like a great rock, immovable in the midst of confusion, misery, and anxiety. Without this compassion, no new culture or society can come into being. I think this is why there's so much emphasis in his work on understanding oneself, because without it, there's no new society. So Krishnamurti asks, what is love? The word is so loaded and corrupted that I hardly like to use it. Everybody talks of love, every magazine and newspaper. I love my country. I love my king. I love some book. I love that mountain. I love pleasure. I love my wife. I love God. Is love an idea? If it is, it can be cultivated, nourished, cherished, pushed around, twisted in any way you like. When you say you love God, what does it mean? It means that you love a projection of your own imagination. Because we cannot solve this human thing called love, we run away into abstractions. Love may be the ultimate solution to all man's difficulties, problems, and travails. So how are we going to find out what love is? By merely defining it? Love and sexuality. This is the best thing I've found on it. Throughout the world, so-called holy men have maintained that to look at a woman is something totally wrong. They say you cannot come near to God if you indulge in sex. Therefore, they push it aside, although they are eaten up with it. But by denying sexuality, they put out their eyes and cut out their tongues, for they deny the whole beauty of the earth. They have starved their hearts and minds. They are dehydrated human beings. They have banished beauty because beauty is associated with woman. And there's a lot of content in this. He asks, can love be divided into the sacred and the profane, the human and the divine, or is there only love? Is love of the one and not of the many? If I say I love you, does that exclude the love of the other? Is love personal or impersonal? Moral or immoral? Family or non-family? Is love sentiment? Is love emotion? Is love pleasure and desire? All these questions indicate, don't they, that we have ideas about love, ideas about what it should or should not be. a pattern or a code developed by the culture in which we live. Without being aware and understanding the ways of thought, love cannot be. Love is a dimension beyond thought, time, and the conditioned mind. He said, to go beyond thought and time is to be aware that there is a different dimension called love. But you don't know how to come to this extraordinary fount. So what do? If you don't know what to do, you do nothing, don't you? Absolutely nothing. Then inwardly you are completely silent. Do you understand what that means? It means that you are not seeking, not wanting, not pursuing. There is no center at all. Then there is love. Love is a state in which there is no me. Love transcends the friend and the enemy. There is also laughter in life. Laughter is a lovely thing. To laugh without reason, to have joy in one's heart without cause, to love without seeking anything in return. Truth can come to you only when your mind and heart are simple, clear, and there is love in your heart, not if your heart is filled with the things of the mind. Well, this statement, love transcends the friend and the enemy, you will find in different uh, iterations in all of the traditions. It's just that we don't live it. He talked a bit about love and unity. So the question I'm asking is, can humanity be unified and not divided? He said, as the sun is the center of this world, holding all things in that light, so the center created by thought hopes to bring mankind together. Great conquerors, great warriors have tried to do this through bloodshed. Religions have tried to do it and have brought about more division with their cruelty, wars, and even torture. Science has inquired into this, and because science is the accumulation of knowledge, and the movement of knowledge is thought, being fragmentary, it cannot unify. Is there an energy which will bring about this unity, this unification of mankind? We are saying in meditation, this energy comes about because in meditation there is no center. The center is created by thought. Something else, totally different, takes place in meditation, which is compassion. This is the unifying factor of mankind, to be compassionate. And he continues, that can only take place when there is no center, the center being that which has been created by thought. Thought which hopes that by creating a center, it can bring about unity, like a fragmentary government, a dictatorship, like autocracy, or all those are centers hoping to create unity. All those have failed, and they will inevitably fail. There is only one factor, and that is this sense of great compassion. And that compassion is when we understand the full width and depth of suffering. Don't understand it verbally or intellectually, but somewhere else in your heart. Feel the thing. And as you are the world and the world is you, if there is this birth of compassion, you will inevitably bring about unity. You can't help it. Where there is love, there is neither choice, nor condemnation, nor justification. It is this love that brings about transformation. The heart can be filled only when the mind is quiet. When the mind is not creating, fabricating, caught up in ideas, then the heart is alive. Then one understands what it is to have that warmth, the richness in holding the hand of another. With the understanding of love, we alter the fabric of society. When there is no image, you can observe the other with a total sense of attention in which there is love, compassion, and therefore no conflict. That is observation without the observer. When there is love, self is not. If you and I, as individuals, can see this whole working of the self, then we shall know what love is. He says real revolution takes place not through mass movements, but through the inward revaluation of relationship. That alone is real reformation, a radical, continuous revolution. We are afraid to begin on a small scale because the problem is so vast, we think we must meet it with large numbers of people, with a great organization, with mass movements. Surely we must begin to tackle the problem on a small scale. And the small scale is the me and the you. When I understand myself, I understand you. And out of that understanding comes love. Love is the missing factor. And because we lack that love, that tenderness, that generosity, that mercy in relationship, we escape into mass action, which produces further confusion, further misery. We fill our hearts with blueprints for world reform and do not look to that one resolving factor, which is love. He says, love alone can transform the insanity, confusion, and strife. No system, no theory of the left or of the right can bring peace and happiness to man. Love alone can bring about mercy and beauty, order and peace. There is love with its blessing when you cease to be. Love is the unknowable. It can be realized when the known is understood and transcended. When the mind is free of the known, then there will be love. Love has no fear. And so this brings us back to that whole conversation about fear yesterday. So I'm putting this here as a kind of, not a summary, but in my own words. From our own suffering comes a deeper sensitivity to the suffering of others. Our own relationship to the immense suffering of humanity can be seen and felt. I think that's going on right now with many of us. In the seeing of this relationship of oneself to the many, an understanding of the mutuality of suffering arises, which is compassion for others, for animals, for the planet. In the light of this understanding, the me disappears. And what is left is love, compassion. Krishnamurti said, this is the journey the mind has to take to come upon this beauty without the word. This journey is meditation. Without compassion, the sacred can never be found. He says, verbally, we can only go so far. What lies beyond cannot be put into words because the word is not the thing. Up to now, we can describe, explain, but no words or explanations can open the door. What will open the door is daily awareness and attention. Awareness of how we speak, what we say, how we walk, what we think. Then perhaps, if you are lucky, the window will open and the breeze will come in. This is the meditation in daily life. And this is how we began. It would be immensely worthwhile to see for each one of us if we could be a light to ourselves. When you are a light to yourself, you are a light to the world.